Americans now pay more in debt service than we do on the military. Another couple billion, and interest on the national debt will be the single largest category of federal spending outside Social Security and Medicare, both of which, of course, are going bust. The sobering statistic comes from the latest monthly statement from the Department of Treasury, which tallies up receipts and outlays by source and function. So in the past 2 months alone, Treasury has shelled out almost $170 billion in interest, so that's roughly $3 billion per day. That's up from $1 billion a day just 2 years ago. So yes, it is going parabolic. Now, as a nation, we obviously spend too much on the military as it is. We should spend exactly the amount needed to secure the homeland and perhaps maintain the integrity of the border, which is probably 1/10 of what we currently spend failing to maintain the integrity of the border. After all, we have 11 aircraft carrier strike groups which are currently plowing through $200 million per month each, so times 11, gallivanting around the world trying to join wars. And yet, even that grotesque imperial outreach no longer cuts it in the world of Washington spending, with debt interest now exceeding it by $20 billion in just the past 2 months, and set to continue soaring with interest almost triple what it was just 2 years ago. Toss in the slow-motion train crash as old, low-interest rate debt is replaced by the expensive new stuff, and it gets goofy. So who owns all that debt? About $7 trillion is so-called intra-government debt, meaning things like Social Security that people thought had a lockbox, but of course do not because Congress pissed it all away. Of the remaining $26 trillion, about 20% is owned by the Fed, half is held by other Americans, from banks to pensions to individual investors, and 30% of the debt, so about $10 trillion, is owned by foreigners. Now, to put those foreign holdings in perspective, all the bank accounts in all the banks in America add up to just over $20 trillion, so about half that. Incidentally, until Nixon broke the gold standard, America actually had a positive net international investment position. So we owned more of them than they owned of us. It is now negative $18 trillion and plunging, so thanks, Federal Reserve. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. Given projections of a $2 trillion plus deficit this year, on its way to $50 trillion by 2030, according to Congress's own in-house accountants, combining that with high interest rates set to continue potentially for many years, that means interest payments are going to keep soaring. So more debt at higher rates. What is the end game? One possibility is a political entrepreneur who floats hard default, like Greece did in 2009, so that would cut off the foreigners and the plutocrats and perhaps issue fresh scrip for the widows and orphans. Or, more likely, so-called soft default, meaning they pay the debt the old-fashioned way, they let inflation rip and destroy the dollar. Given the lobbying budgets of those same foreigners and plutocrats, my money is on the latter. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.